Welcome to Envisioned Broadcasting. Envisioned Broadcasting. The station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. An affiliate of Direct Impact Broadcasting and Creative Broadcasting, presenting the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, a show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The EmPower Hour with Jaresha begins now.
Welcome to EmPower Hour with Jaresha. I am your host, Jaresha Moore. A little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 18 years of combined experience in education, finance, healthcare, business management, and development, owner and founder of EmPower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide leadership training and personal and professional coaching and consulting services, certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envision Broadcasting radio station. Tonight, I am so excited to announce that I have a new book called Leadership Tidbits, Powerful Strategies Every Leader Needs to Know in Order to Win, and it is now on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle, and you can get it on, you actually can get an autographed copy directly through me. Leadership Tidbits is a collection of stories of industry trailblazers who share profound leadership tactics that will help you elevate your career and enhance your personal life. In my chapter called Empowering Your Inner Leader, you will learn how to empower yourself as a leader and how to use what I refer to as SOAR Now, which stands for Empower Strength, Create Opportunities, Innovate Aspiration, Achieve Results, Next Moves, Ongoing Actions, and Win on Purpose to level up as a leader. You can visit www.empoweronpurpose.com or text EmPower, that's EmPower, to 474747 to find out more details on how to purchase your autographed copy. I am also excited to announce that I am being featured in the Kish December magazine. It was such an honor and a blessing to be featured in the November issue, so I'm extremely grateful and thankful to be featured in the December issue with the beautiful and amazing actress Kelly Williams as one of the top 30 influential women movers and shakers. I will tell you guys that God is truly opening doors, and what I have learned is that you have to be ready to walk through every door with no fear. I'm so grateful and thankful. The best is yet to come. To get your copy, go to www.kishmagazine.com. And I just want to say thank you to Kishma George and the Kish Magazine. So today's empowerment quote is, "Success is a journey, not a destination. The doing is often more important than the outcome," by author Ash. There is another quote that I love that says, "Success is a journey rather than a destination," but it also says, "No matter how long you live or what you decide to do in your life, you will never exhaust your capacity to grow towards your potential or run out of opportunities to help others." So what I want y'all to pull from both of these quotes is the doing and the action that you must take that is important for your success. That means stop wasting time every single day with all of the excuses why you can't be, have, or do more for your life, and start working towards developing yourself and towards your potential. This journey that you're on is a lifelong journey, but don't think that means that you have a lifetime to take action or to decide to do something, to be or have or even do more with your life. The time starts now to work out on your success journey. Everyone's success journey and picture of success is different, so remember that. So success is not a one-size-fits-all type of journey. But one of my favorite mentors, John Maxwell, tells us that when we think about success, we should look at success as knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your maximum potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others. When we seek success as a journey, you will never You will never see it as a final destination that you'll arrive at. Instead, you will see it as steps that you can take to shift to finding your purpose, growing your potential, and helping others. So if you've already taken that step, you have to know out there, all of the listeners listening, you are successful right now. Or you can be successful today simply by taking that step. Remember, you got this, and you were created for greatness. So without further delay, today my guest is Audrey Bell Kearney. Audrey Bell Kearney is the CEO of ABK Media Group, which is a media marketing and consulting firm that curates, produces, and distributes digital content for clients and helps them get exposure for their business, product, or service. Audrey is also the founder of PodChicks International, a community for women who are serious about leveraging the power of podcasts. She is the host of the hyper-local podcast, Good Morning Gwinnett, and the podcast, which is the PodChick, which is a podcast all about starting and growing your podcast. Audrey is also the founder of Her2.tv, which is an empowerment video and television network about women and what women care about. She is also the CEO of Baki TV Network, which is a new empowerment TV network aimed at empowering African Americans. Audrey is also the publisher of Peach State Women magazine and author of What's Your Big Idea? The Ultimate Guide for New Entrepreneurs, and I want to write a book, Now What? A to Z of self-publishing, and Can They See You Now? Easy video marketing, even when you hate being on camera, which can be found on Amazon.com in both print and Kindle versions. Her new book, PodChicks, Women Who Have Launched a Podcast and How You Can Too, is also available on Amazon. Audrey is passionate about entrepreneurship. Audrey started her first real business in 1999. She realized that she was a single mom who wanted to create a nice life for her daughter, who was 8 years old at the time. So she had the idea for a plus-size fashion doll, which was more realistic than the Barbie doll. She told her friend about the idea, and the friend thought it was a great idea. The two became partners, and Big Beautiful Dolls, LLC was born June 1999. They invented the first plus-size fashion doll. Audrey went on to start her own newspaper titled Women in Business Today. The paper profiled women who were already in business. Audrey later became a consultant with the Rutgers and Keene University Small Business Development Center in New Jersey. She also sat on the advisory board for the Rutgers University Small Business Development Center. The paper opened many doors for Audrey. She was asked to be interviewed on a local radio station. The host liked her so much that she brought her on full-time with her own show, which she had the same title as her newspaper, Women in Business Today. Audrey did the show for 1 year on WSOU 89.5 FM until her husband's job transferred him to North Carolina. While in North Carolina, Audrey decided that she would start her own TV show. So she walked into the local TV station in Rocky Mountain, North Carolina, and pitched the show idea to the station manager, and the Women in Business Today TV show was born. From 2010 to 2013, Audrey was the host of the Ask Audrey show on the Harvest Radio, WKMB 1070 AM. Audrey is currently the host of Good Morning Gwinnett and Talk Business with Audrey, which can be heard on iTunes and other podcast platforms. You can also listen to Good Morning Gwinnett on Amazon Fire TV by going to the Amazon store and searching for Good Morning Gwinnett and adding the channel to your device. In 2008, Audrey produced a short documentary film about her journey as an entrepreneur titled Rise, an entrepreneur's journey to the top. Audrey launched Her2.tv in 2013, which distributes content via the set-up box Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Smart TVs, and Kindle Fire. Audrey has been interviewed on national television talk shows and written up in national publications, including Insight on Fox 5 TV in Dallas, Money Matters Talk Show, The John Walsh Show, The Network Journal, Today's Black Woman, The Motherhood, Global Black Woman, and more. Welcome, Audrey. You are absolutely amazing. What an impressive bio. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. How are you this evening?
Thank you so much. You know, when you were reading that, I'm sitting here saying, oh, my God, it sounds like I've done a lot. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here with you.
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned, I just shared your amazing bio. Please tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself and anything else that you may want to add about your background.
Well, I was actually born in Albany, Georgia. It's so funny because I left Albany when I was 12 years old. My parents, they got divorced when I was 10, and my dad moved to California, and my mom moved to Newark, New Jersey, where her three older brothers lived. And so I recently moved back to Georgia about 6 years ago, and I was here in Gwinnett County, they have a lot of events where you get to know your community leaders, you get to know the police officers. They have this is a program called Gwinnett Citizens Academy 101. And so I went through the academy early this year, and what it does is you get to go around to all the local officials and everything, and you get to meet everybody. Well, there was a young lady in my class, and so when we had to introduce ourselves at the first day of class, when it got to her, she says, and I'm from Albany. And it was funny because I didn't think I thought she was just being funny, but she says, I'm from Albany, and it is not Albany. And so when it got to me, and I was like, well, I'm from Albany. It was hilarious, but I later realized she was really throwing a jab at me. But I was born in Albany, Georgia, raised in Newark, New Jersey, and stayed up there most of my life. I moved back to Georgia when I was about 6 years ago. I am married, have one daughter and one granddaughter, and been an entrepreneur now. I call the Big Beautiful Doll Company my real company because before that, I started a whole bunch of stuff. I was doing Avon, and I never did Mary Kay, though. But I did Avon. I did I was selling some magnets for your back. But when I got to Big Beautiful Dolls, that was my real business because we had to really learn business at that point. I spent about a year on Wall Street looking for investment dollars, and I learned a lot. That's why I call it my real business, my first real business. And I did that company pretty much for about 5 years, and when my partner and her husband moved to Dallas, I stayed in Jersey and ran the company by myself pretty much for about 5 years. And then after that, people started asking me, did you invent this doll? Is this your company? And they would ask me how to start a business. So that's when I decided to write a book about how to start a business. And then later, it's so funny because later people would say to me, well, I want to write a book. How do I write a book? So I wrote a book about how to write a book. And and I've been doing that for a long time. Next year will be 23 years. I've actually been an entrepreneur full-time for 21 next year.
Wow. Well, that's just, it's so amazing. So when did you discover that you had an entrepreneur spirit?
So my daughter was about 3 years old. That was about 1994. And I was working at a hospital in Newark, New Jersey. I had went to school to become a nurse, right? And my mom, so we all worked at this one hospital. It was my mother, my aunt, my two best friends, my boyfriend. We all worked at this hospital in Newark. And when my daughter was 3 years old, I said, you know what, I need to do something different. I want to do something different. So I went back to school to be a nurse. And my mom asked me, why are you going to school to be a nurse? Because I'm very squeamish about certain things. And in my mind, I'm thinking because nurses make a lot of money and they only work 3 days a week. So that's what I told my mom. And I went through the whole program, Jaresha, and got to my clinicals. And the first day of clinicals, I had to change a colostomy bag, and I dropped out. I said, oh, no, I can't do it, cannot do that. And after that, I knew I wanted to do something different. And the hospital went bankrupt during that time. And when they went bankrupt, I went out and got I saw an ad in the newspaper, and it said, start your own business. And I remember it was so cold. It was in February of 97. It was February of 97. And I went out there, and I remember, even though it was freezing, I remember being free out on the streets, and I was spraying perfume on people. So the company was a company. They had boxes of perfume. So we went to the interview. They called it an interview. We went to this interview. It was February, and there was a guy, tall white guy. He had a long ponytail. He looked like he should have been on Miami Vice or something like that. He had a long ponytail. He was real tan. Had on some white pants and some white loafers. And, they told us how we could start our own business, and they were going to open us an office where we lived. I'm like, this sounds great. And so after 3 months, from February to April, I was on the streets of Newark, New Jersey, spraying perfume on people. And here's the crazy part. I made $1 a bottle. And when I look back now, I had to be nuts to be doing that because it was freezing, and all I made was $1 a bottle. But that's how I got started as an entrepreneur, and that was 97, and I've never turned back since then.
Isn't that amazing? $1 a bottle, but you were determined. You're like, you know what? At least I'm working for myself. Wow, my goodness, wow. So tell us a little bit more about, your company, ABK Media Group, and the type of clients that you work with.
So ABK has gone through okay, let me just back up a little bit. So when I moved to Georgia, I was pretty much starting over again. My husband works in pharmaceutical, and every time they have like a shake-up in the pharmaceutical industry, people lose their jobs. So when he lost his job this time around, we decided to move to Georgia. And when I came here, I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went to a film festival. And by that time, I had been in business for a long time, and I knew a little bit something about, publishing and digital distribution and things like that. And someone invited me to come to this film festival. I was like, okay, well, let me check this out. When I got there, there was a couple there that had a distribution company, and there were a room full of filmmakers. And they were all so excited to talk to these distributors, and they were so happy. And so the distributor took and said to them, we can get you this distribution, but you won't make any money really for about 15 years. And I'm sitting there thinking, what? Did he say 15 years? And he really said 15 years. And they were running up there to give their DVD to this guy. And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's about to rob them. It was terrible. But on my way home, I was like, okay, I need to help these people. And so God gave me this idea for HerTube. And so I said, okay, HerTube. What am I, HerTube? So I came up with the idea for HerTube, and I started working with programmers and coders out of India, because I had been used to like dealing with overseas, because my dolls are actually manufactured in Hong Kong. And so I said, well, you know what? I know they probably know how to do programming in India. Let me reach out. And, I went on, at that time, I went to Upworks, I think it was, and I went and I looked for a programmer. And the programmer that I had, it was horrible. And we went on about 6 months. I'm paying money, nothing's getting done. And I just stopped. I said, you know what, this is not working. And then I found a programmer here in Atlanta, in the metro area. And I think he didn't know. He didn't know that I knew a little bit of something about programming. So he was just trying to take my money. So I was like, listen, you do understand that I know a little bit of something about programming. So what you just put up is a bunch of garbage. And so we had a falling out, that programmer. So for the next 3 to 4 months, I just put my head down. I said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to launch this TV channel myself. And I did. That's how HerTube was born. So I launched my first channel on Roku in 2013. And so once I did that, I said, okay, now what is this company going to be about? And I did an audition for women who wanted to be on television. And 300 women applied. 300. It was crazy. Wow. And we had to go through all of that video footage and pick women out. And out of that 300, we picked out 39. And out of that 39, 19 actually signed on with us to produce shows for our network. So that's how HerTube was born. And then later on, last year, a year before last, ABK came about because other people wanted me to develop channels for them. So I said, okay, well, I don't want to develop under my HerTube brand. Let me just start a new company that will encompass everything. And that's how ABK was born. So I started creating Fire TV channels for other people and Roku channels for other people. And that's how ABK Media Group came about. But I'm actually in the process of rebranding again because I was like, okay, I don't want to do that either. I just really want to do podcasting. And marketing.
Absolutely, yes. So I just have to say really quickly that I think it is so amazing that you invented your own plus-size fashion dolls. Growing up as a little girl and, just seeing that typical, Barbie doll that, that's all that we had and that's all that was there. And just I think it's absolutely amazing, just to be able to give other our girls other options, for more realistic options, if you will, that they can definitely, play with. So I think that's absolutely amazing. I love that. I love how you created, and the fact that, you just kept, you kept going, even with your creating the HerTube.tv, and, it's like when anything that you put your mind to, you're like, okay, I don't have to wait on the programmers. I'm going to figure out how to do this for myself. It's amazing. It's very empowering for those that are out there struggling as well. So we've mentioned that you are, the founder of Pod Chicks International. Please tell us a little bit more about that.
So Pod Chicks was born. I actually went to PodFest this past March, and while I was there, I was kind of throwing the word Pod Chicks around just loosely because my friend and I were there, just at the convention, just enjoying the convention. And every time we would meet somebody, I was like, yeah, we're the Pod Chicks. And people like, that's really cool. That's a really nice name, right? And by the time I said it about 5 times, I was like, wait a minute. People keep saying how nice his name is. Wait a minute. So I stopped. Mm-hmm. And I remember sitting in the hallway, and they was like, what are you doing? I'm like, registering his name with GoDaddy before I say it one more time and somebody go and take it from me. And I didn't know what Pod Chicks was going to be. So when I got home, we were in Orlando. When I got home, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do with Pod Chicks? Like, what am I going to do with that? And something said, well, write a book. And I was like, okay, that's cool, because I had met some really amazing Pod Chicks in Florida. And I said, maybe I'll ask, the rest of some of these women, do they want to be in the book? And 14 of them said yes. And I was like, oh, great. And so I wrote the book, Pod Chicks. And as I went through the process of writing the book, it's a real easy read, just a fun book. I said, you know what, I need to do something else with this, because now people were starting to ask me, well, how do I start a podcast? And I was like, for me, it's my business. Like, podcasting is my business. So I was like, well, you know what, maybe I'll start a community for women who are really serious about learning how to leverage podcasting to grow their business. And that's how Pod Chicks International was born.
Wow. Isn't that amazing? And before the show started, we talked about how I, have only been on this journey for about 8 or 9 months. And, and I come in contact with so many different people that are interested in starting their own podcast and all of that. And just having, someone like yourself that can provide that information and say, okay, let me, walk you through the process and all of that, and give them information, because it's a whole nother world. And especially if you don't have experience in it, just to have someone that can help you and mentor you through that process. So you have also hosted several radio shows and currently a host on Good Morning Gwinnett and Talk Business with Audrey. Please tell us a little bit more about, your shows, your journey, and then what your experience has been as a host.
Well, I started in traditional radio around 2000, and I think it was 2002, and I really loved radio. So I got addicted to radio at that point. And when my husband's job closed that time, we moved to North Carolina, and I went into television. But when I came back to Jersey, I went back to radio again. And then when that contract ended, podcasting was just starting to kick off really good. And I was like, okay, let me try this podcasting thing. So I jumped in there, and it was so funny because back then, the only podcasting platform that I can remember was Blog Talk Radio. Now Blog Talk is like a bad word to some people. Like, you say Blog Talk, like, oh, not Blog Talk. But back then, that's all we had was Blog Talk. And I started out doing so I have about 200, 300 episodes sitting over on Blog Talk because I started so long ago. And I just loved it. But what happened was, back then, Jaresha, there was no way to make money from it. Like, it was a hobby. So I was like, okay, this is nice, but I got to make some money. And so I stopped podcasting. I went back into consulting and coaching and things like that. And when I moved to Georgia, I started doing Talk Business with Audrey. And still, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not sure how to monetize this yet, so I stopped doing it again. But last year, and December the 18th, next week will be my 1-year anniversary for Good Morning Gwinnett. Last year, I said, you know what, I love podcasting. And I'm going to do this the way I want to do it. Because most podcasters, they don't do music in their podcast. I do. My show is live every morning. I don't edit it, and I know some of the editors are probably out there having a heart attack. But it's a live show. You get me live in person. This is who I am. I'm there. I'm stumbling some mornings because my internet may be janky, things like that. But I tell my listeners, hey, this is what's going on. and I just loved it. And I wanted to incorporate music in it because when I had my radio show, I had music in my show. And I was like, I want music on my show. I want to talk about, current events and things like that. And so that's why I launched Good Morning Gwinnett. And so because I was still pretty much new here in Gwinnett County, I was like, what better way to get to know my community than to have a podcast and invite all of the government officials on my show? And that's what I did. So I started inviting all of the government officials on my show, and I got to know a lot of them very up close and personal because of that. And then I started talking to a lot of politicians because it's an election season. So, everybody wants to come on and talk about what they're going to do. So I've been talking to a lot of them. But starting in January, I'm launching a new podcast called Noisemakers. And I would love to have you on my show, by the way. It's called Noisemakers, and it's for people who are disrupting their industry. And I'm excited about that because it's going to go back to a traditional interview-style show, and it's going to be once a week. Like right now, Good Morning Gwinnett is 4 days a week. And people are like, are you crazy? And I'm like, yep. But it's because it's live that I can do it. I could never do a 4-day-a-week show with editing. I couldn't do it. I mean, people probably do it, like John Lee Dumas. I think he does it. He does a 5-day-a-week show with editing. I couldn't do that. Like, that's way too much stress for me.
It is. It is a lot. Yeah. So go ahead. What were you going to say?
No. So I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna do live, and it's gonna go out live. Now sometimes I've hit some snags, but I'm always apologetic to my audience, and I'm like, hey, listen, this is what's happening, and believe it or not, people actually like that. But there's something for everybody. Anybody who's thinking about a podcast, there's something for almost anybody. There are people who love my show. They email me and they tell me they love my show, and a real podcast editor and like the super duper, professional people, they probably cringe if they listen to my show. But there's something for everybody.
That's right. And I love the fact, because like you said, it's live. That means it's real. It's uncut. You listen, and it's just, you're going to keep it real. So I love that. And I would definitely love to be a guest on Noisemakers. I would be honored to be a guest on your upcoming podcast. Absolutely. How amazing is that? So you also produced a short documentary film titled Rise, an Entrepreneur's Journey to the Top. Can you share a little bit more about this documentary?
So this is a funny story because I don't know what I was thinking about, Jaresha, when I did this documentary, and it was because I look back now because it was so long ago. I'm like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But I just wanted to document my journey from when I started out as an entrepreneur, and I hired a filmmaker, and he was just kind of starting out, and I didn't know what I was doing. He knew a little bit more about filmmaking than I did, and so he followed me around for about a week or two, and we talked about my journey of college and leaving college and, having a baby and all these different things, and it was really cool. And I put it on Amazon, and to this day, I still get sales. It's hilarious when I'm like, oh my God, that was such a terrible documentary. As far as production quality, I think it was anyway, because I know better now. Back then, I thought it was the best thing ever, but now that I know better about the film industry, it's like, oh yeah, that was terrible. But people still buy it, and I guess the story is just, I wanted to inspire somebody. I wanted them to understand where I came from, and that you could do anything. I grew up in Newark. Newark is a tough place. My brother and I grew up in Newark. It's a tough place, but we were able to come through there and make something out of ourselves when a lot of our friends did not make it out. They either got killed, or they're in jail, or they got strung out on drugs. And so that was just, the people that we grew up with, that was just the nature of the beast growing up in Newark. They call it growing up on the bricks, like Brick City. It was tough, but we were able to make it out. And my brother and I just had this conversation yesterday. We were talking about how some people, they grow up a certain way and they stay that way their whole lives. And I said to him, we grew up in Newark, but we didn't stay in that mindset of I just want to live in Newark forever. We didn't stay there, and that's because my mother didn't have that mindset. My mother was born in Albany, raised in Albany, but she took us to Newark to get to a better life. But when we got to Newark, she didn't stay in Newark. Like, she moved us all over the place, and she was steady going towards the up level. And they called us gypsies because we moved so much, but she was always trying to get to the next best place. And it was just she and then my brother and myself. So it was just the three of us. So she would move us. She moved us from Newark to Irvington, from Irvington to East Orange, East Orange to Orange. So we're moving towards the suburbs now. And from Orange to East Orange, and then Orange to West Orange, that was the suburbs. And we kind of landed, and we stayed in the suburbs for the rest of our lives. Like my brother lived in Union before I left, and he lived there now. I lived in Maplewood, so those are all the suburbs of Jersey. We had houses there and things like that. So we didn't stay there, but that's what the documentary did. It kind of showed where I started. You know, I went to Montclair State College. I went to Essex County College. You know, I worked at this hospital, and I talk about how I first got introduced with what the good life looked like. Like I didn't know my daughter's dad, his family on his dad's side is rich, you know. And when I actually got a chance to see what that looked like for real, I was like, I want that for myself. And that was a catalyst for me to start towards this journey of I want that, because I had never seen that before until I met him. And when I got a chance to go visit his father, I'm like, people, and I'm just going to be real, I said, black people live like this? It was crazy. But that's what I wanted for myself. And so that, and by that time, my daughter, when I met her grandfather, I was pregnant with her. And that's when I got a chance to like really see like, oh my God, this is how they live. And I knew I wanted that. And so when she was 3, that's when I was like, you know what, I'm going to get that for her, you know, and that's how I got on that journey. But that documentary tells that story about how I started and why I started.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it because so often that people really need to see and hear, you know, I think it's so important for them to just see, you know, your journey and, you know, some of the things that you've went through, because it truly helps them with their own. You know, it may be your story that helps them get out of whatever situation that they may be in, and they realize like, oh my goodness, like she went through all of this and she was able to keep, you know, moving forward and keep just driving forward. And now, you know, looking at her story, I can move forward. It's almost like an inspiration and a motivation and a push to help empower someone else. So I think that's awesome. So if you're all the listeners, you know, go out there and hop on Amazon to get the documentary film, which is called Rise, An Entrepreneur's Journey to the Top. And so I also
please don't
think
hold
that
it against me. Please don't. Look, Jaresha, please tell your audience, don't hold it against me. I did not know what I was doing. You know, I hired somebody who probably didn't know what they were doing, and we put together this documentary. So please don't hold it against me.
I think that they'll appreciate the fact that it's very real, you know, and uncut. So I definitely think that the listeners will appreciate that. So I think it's, you know, absolutely amazing how you've been interviewed by national television talk shows. Tell us a little bit more about how you landed these amazing interviews.
Talking to people. So when I was doing a radio show, I interviewed a woman named Linda Hollander. And Linda Hollander, she's known as the wealthy bag lady. And I interviewed her on my show. And so when the opportunity came for her to be interviewed on Money Matters with Mary Caracoli, which is out of Pennsylvania, she told them about me. And I got a call saying, hey, I need you to come over to Pennsylvania and go on TV. I'm like, holy crap. So that's how I got that interview. And then when I was on, that was Money Matters with Mary Caracoli. I interviewed 2 women. They were called the Mompreneurs. I interviewed them too as well on my show. And when the opportunity became available for me to go on the John Walsh show, they told him about me. And so they were out of, I want to say they were out of Michigan somewhere, but they came to New York, and I got the call like 7 o'clock at night. Like, we want you on this show, and I had to jump up and get to New York that morning like 7 o'clock. And that's how I got to be on that show. And my partner, Georgette, at the time, she was living in Dallas, and her husband worked for Fox. And so they had a show called Insight, and the host of that show, her name was Rochelle. She asked us to be on her show, and that's how we got on that show. So, and it was so funny because the Dolls debuted with Monique on one of her shows. It was so we've been all over the place. Wow. Georgette was on the Tom Joyner show, talking about the Dolls. The Network Journal, the big magazine that's still around. You know, a lot of magazines out of publication right now, but the Network Journal is still around. They did a big spread on us. And I remember one night we were on Today's Black Woman. Someone emailed me. It was like 12 o'clock at night on the East Coast. They were on the West Coast, and I don't know. It was like somebody. It was just nobody I knew. That's like, oh my God, we see you in Today's Black Woman, and I'm like, Today's Black Woman, and I was like, where? She says, I'm in a grocery store. This was the lady told me, so I'm like, in the grocery store, and so I said, who's on the cover? And she said, Tay Diggs. I'm like, Tay Diggs. So we that night, my husband and I jumped out of the bed, like, look, let's go to the grocery store at the time. It was called Pathmark, and it stayed open 24 hours. Like, let's go to Pathmark and find this magazine. Sure enough, we were right there in Today's Black Woman, and Tay Diggs was on the cover. And then we got written up in Heart and Soul, and that was kind of cool because Kelly Price was on one side of the page and we were on the other side. And we're like, oh my God, we're across the street from Kelly Price. So, and it's just been a lot. It was a lot of networking. So back then, we didn't have social media like we have right now. So you literally had to talk to people a little bit more. And so I talked to a lot of people, and those people said, you know what, let me tell somebody about Audrey because she put me on. And that's how I got to all those different publications. And it shows.
Awesome. Absolutely. It's all about connecting and networking. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say is one piece of advice you would give to anyone listening that is wanting to go into radio or podcast?
Find your voice. Find your true voice. Don't let your voice be based on someone else's voice. When I started Good Morning Gwinnett, people thought I was crazy. One, because it was a 4-day-a-week show. That was the first thing. Two, because it's totally unedited. And so had I let that stop me, I probably wouldn't be doing it now because I know that I could not do a 4-day-a-week show trying to edit every episode. So find your voice. Be authentic with who you are, and do something that you're gonna love. I love my show. I get up every day and I do it. As a matter of fact, I'm actually moving into my studio in January, so I'm souped up about that. But that's what I would say. Do something that you absolutely love. Some people will tell you, you need to make money, and you do. You want to, if this is something you're doing as a career move or as a business move, you want to make money, but you still need to be able to love it. Because you're not going to do it very long if you don't love it. Because the money didn't come right away. And my money doesn't really come from podcasting itself. It comes from coaching and consulting. So it's kind of like a byproduct of podcasting. So just be honest with yourself about what you're trying to do and why you're doing it. Why are you doing it? Is it a vanity project, or is it something that you want to get your message out? Are you using it as a marketing tool? Why are you doing it? Because your why is going to, you've probably heard this before, like most people, your why is going to determine how far you go with it. I'm on episode 216 right now, and that's in less than a year. Next week will be a year. That's because I love what I do.
Absolutely. How amazing is that? That's awesome. So what would you say has been your biggest challenge to date?
Overall, in business overall?
Yes.
For me, I'm like Jaresha, I am like a serial entrepreneur, right? And God gives me the most amazing ideas. I mean, they are so amazing. When I tell people, they say, that's an amazing idea. And I want to do them all at one time. That has probably been my biggest challenge because he gives me these great ideas, and I realize I cannot do them all at one time. And so I've had to sit. I own. Let me just tell you how bad it is. I own 119 domain names. Because he always gives me great ideas, and so every time he gives me one, I'll go register the domain name. So I own 119. So GoDaddy loves me because I'm always I'm always buying a domain name for something. But I would say that has been one of my biggest challenges. And when I say that, I mean staying focused because, some people call it a gift. It could be a curse because if you're not focused and disciplined enough, you'll be all over the place and nothing will get done. And I know that because I've lived through that. And it's almost like an addiction because you want to keep starting things. And you want to keep starting things or you want to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And that has been one of my biggest hurdles is not making things so big where I can't even focus on making it grow. I mean, because I'm adding stuff to it. I might add a TV network to it, and I might add, another TV network to it. And, it's a book, and then now it's like a whole media thing. So I would say that has been my biggest challenge. And because of that, a lot of people didn't know what I did. Like, okay, what do you do? Well, I have a media company. So I had to, so when I did ABK Media Group, I had a media company. Because now I have a magazine, I got TV networks, I got podcasts, I got radio stations, I got all these things. That's because that's my disease of making everything big. So I would say that has been my challenge.
That's awesome. I think that is so awesome because, you know, as entrepreneurs, one of the things that, you know, we have to do, or I think that we really get good at, is taking that risk. And not everybody is willing to do that and take that step and take that risk and say, okay, you know, you mentioned you have 119 domain names. Well, those are ideas that you said, okay, I need to jump on this because you never know when, you know, something is going to flourish, something's going to grow from that. And at least you already have, you know, started the process to make sure you secured it and you know it's yours. So I commend you for that and just taking those steps. Absolutely. So what would you say has been the biggest accomplishment for you up to this point?
Outside of being a mother, a grandmother, and a wife, I don't think I've gotten there yet. Well, okay, so my biggest accomplishment has probably been my dolls, because I knew nothing about that industry. That was one of those ideas. I was sitting at work hating my job, and God just gave me that idea. It wasn't that I was a doll collector or anything. It was just an idea. And for me to take that idea out of my head, find a manufacturer in Hong Kong, and all the while I had bad credit. I was a single parent at the time with no money. I quit my job at Verizon, and I had a paper route to make it happen. So I would say that has been my absolutely the biggest accomplishment right there, because that was a big idea in my head, and I brought that to life. And I brought all of them to life, but I think that's the biggest one because I knew nothing about what I was doing, not a thing.
Absolutely. So we both know how important it is when it comes down to, you know, mentoring and coaching others through certain processes. Could you share what impact being a mentor and a mentee has had on, you know, your business and personal growth?
I had a coach. His name was Andrew Morrison, and I remember him telling me, like I was just telling you, that I had so many things going on, and he said to me, nobody knows what you do. And I remember getting my website. It was beautiful. Like, I paid $1,500 for it. And he said, well, the site is beautiful, but nobody knows what you do because there's too much stuff on the site. And I was like, so me, I was being hard-headed. You know, I could do it all. I'm every woman. I could do it all. So I stopped being his mentee. But I later realized he knew what he was talking about, and I didn't. So I've learned to listen to my coaches, even the ones that don't even know that they are my coaches. I've learned to listen to them. I read a lot of case studies about different entrepreneurs in different industries, and that has helped me so much hone into where I am right now. That's why I can let things go a lot easier, because when I realize it's really not serving the purpose, I can let it go. Before I would not. I hold on to everything and start new stuff on top of that. So I've learned how to do that, and that's because of people that I've talked to, mastermind groups that I've been a part of, that I've been able to do that. Because I got to tell you, Jaresha, giving up a part of your business is like giving your baby up for adoption. Well, at least it is for me, you know. And I've learned to do that. Like right now, I'm going through rebranding, and so I'm giving up a big chunk of my business, which is the internet TV side, where I create TV channels for people, and I've turned that over to a partner down in Atlanta. Like, listen, I won't do that anymore. She does the exact same thing. We've come up with a partnership agreement where I will refer people to her. I get a percentage of the sales, but I don't have to do that anymore. And so now my focus is really on helping people learn how to leverage podcasting. So I'm launching a new company, Noise Media, and I'm excited about that. And I'm starting a studio, so I'm moving to the studio in January. But that has been the greatest thing I've gotten from my mentors. Being a mentor myself, it's just being able to help you bring their idea to life. Like that is so gratifying to me. And I help a lot of people. I'm in the process right now helping my daughter. Now, she's probably my toughest client yet, because I'm mom. So even though I'm helping her, it's like, yeah, you're still my mother. So she's probably my toughest client, because I'm like, listen, I'm about to fire you because you won't do what you're supposed to do. But just seeing her be excited about this whole thing, because she's been doing this, she's been with me I've been an entrepreneur since she was about 7, and so now she's 28, and so I've been doing it, so she must have been 5 because it's been 23 years almost. But just to see her want to do this now, and just to see people have an idea and they're able to come to me and talk to me about that, and I had to learn though, Jaresha. I had to learn to not give them everything at one time because it will overwhelm them. Then they wouldn't do anything. So that was another thing that I had to learn as a mentor, that I can't brain dump all of the stuff out on them at one time, and I had to give them some structure because I would do that. And I didn't know I was doing it until my daughter said, oh, my God, you are totally overwhelming me. I cannot do this. And I was like, oh, okay. So I had to realize as a mentor that I had to kind of meet them where they were and then kind of slow walk them through the process. So all of that has been, like, gratifying to me to see these big ideas come out of their head and bring them to life. I work with an attorney. She's a good friend of mine now, but she's an attorney who hated being an attorney. And since we have been friends and I've been working with her, she's launched 2 books. She's written 2 books. She's launched 2 podcasts. She has a TV channel. So she's totally trying to get away from being an attorney, and she's doing a really great job.
Awesome. How amazing is that? I love to hear, those kind of stories. I think that's amazing. So the empowerment quote for today was, success is a journey, not a destination. The doing is often more important than the outcome. Please share what this quote means to you.
I think I'll be on this journey to the day I kick the bucket, because it's not a destination. Like, once you accomplish one thing, you want to do something else. And I don't know about most people, but that's me. Like, once I accomplish, doing the dolls, now what's next? Once I move into the studio next month, now what's next? So it's always a journey, but I enjoy the journey. So what I would say is that enjoy the journey. Like, I don't think you ever reach a destination as an entrepreneur, ever. I don't think no entrepreneur, because here's the thing. You get to a certain amount of money, right? Let's say you get to $2 million, right? Once you buy the house, the car, you pay off all the bills, then, okay, so now, depending on what kind of house you want, because some people's house costs $2 million, but let's say you buy a modest house. Then, so now all that stuff is done. What's next? I think the journey continues. If you are a real diehard entrepreneur, I don't think you're ever going to get to that destination. It's always a journey, and I enjoy the journey. And I would just say, listen, enjoy it. Just have a good time with it.
That's right, absolutely. So, what is the best advice that you have ever received, and who gave it to you?
Andrew. Pick one thing. Like Andrew Morrison, Small Business Camp, the best advice he ever gave me, and I should have listened to him, was pick one thing. I even bought the book, The One Thing. I didn't like it, though. It was too analytical. Yes. Yeah, it was way too analytical for me. I was like, oh, God, I can't read this. I'm a story person. Like, I like stories. So when I was reading, there's a book called A 1 Minute Millionaire, right, by Mark Victor Hansen, and I interviewed him like 3 times on my show. He wrote the book, right? And the book it's written for the right brain thinker on one side and the left brain thinker on the other side. And he wrote that purposely that way because he knew that they learned different. And I was the one that liked the creative side. I was like, oh yeah, I don't like that side. So the book is split right down the middle. Depending on how you take in information, you pick one side of the book or the other, which I thought was pretty cool. But Andrew was the one who said pick one thing. And I think that was the best information he could have given me, the best advice. I just wish I had taken it sooner.
Absolutely. So what is one piece of advice you would give our listeners on how they can empower their own growth and success journey?
Always be learning. Always. When you find that there's something that you're lacking, go out and figure out a way to learn it. Here's the other thing, too. Don't try to do everything yourself. As entrepreneurs, we're bad about that. We want to do everything ourselves. You have to make an investment in yourself. You have to make an investment in your business if you want to grow. Now, if you just want to be a solopreneur forever, then that's cool. Then that's what you do. But if you're trying to grow a business, because being an entrepreneur and being a business owner, that's 2 different things. If you're trying to be a business owner, you're going to need some help. So don't try to do everything yourself. I was just in a conversation. I had a meeting last week with one of my associates, and we were talking about, listen, let's find somebody to do Facebook ads. I don't want to learn how to do Facebook ads. Like, I'm good for learning how to do everything because that's how I started. I had to learn how to do PR. I had to learn how to do the ads. I don't want to learn nothing else when it comes to that type of stuff. Like, so let's hire an expert to do those things. So let's find an expert who's going to do our Facebook ad. And we did that. We found the expert, and she's going to take it over in January, and that's a great thing. So don't try to do everything yourself, and invest in yourself. Invest in, get a coach, because you need somebody to help you when you fall on your face. Being an entrepreneur is a very lonely place to be. A lot of times we are so lonely. That's why they have these networking events. But get you a coach so you can bounce things off of, and give up something. Because a lot of times we don't want to give up anything for this journey. We just want it to happen. You got to give up something. You got to give up something.
Absolutely. That is great, great, great advice. So please share with the listeners on what is coming up on the horizon for you.
Well, I'm super duper excited, Jaresha, I'm rebranding again. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to make adjustments to your business until you get it to where you want it to be. And I honestly feel like this is like it. Like, this is my final, not my final that I'm about to kick the bucket final, but I feel like this is a company that I'm going to build into this huge $1 billion empire. It's called Noise Media, and I'm really excited about that. We're opening up the first studio called The Noise Factory and the Noise Podcast Network. And that's my big thing for 2020, Noise Media. I'm excited about that.
Absolutely. It sounds exciting. I can't wait to hear more information about it. So I just want to take this time to, say thank you for sharing your amazing story and journey. And, please take the time to share with the listeners on how they can stay connected with you and support your efforts.
Sure. If you are interested in learning how to start a podcast and you're serious about it, if you're a female, you can do podchix.com. That's podchix.com. Go there and check out what we're doing there. If you are interested in learning more about Noise Media, go to noisemedia.us, like the United States.us, and find out more about what we're doing there. And I'm super duper excited about that. Or if you just want to email me at audrey@noisemedia.us. That's noise, like make some noise, noisemedia.us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure to have you as a guest on the show. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was absolutely amazing. You shared so much amazing advice. So I thank you.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And I wish you so much success and blessings as you continue on your journey.
Thank you. And I wish the same for you, Jaresha.
Thank you. Thank you. So, listeners, thank you for tuning into tonight's show with our special guest, Audrey Bell Kearney. Audrey shared her amazing story and journey to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. And she also shared that it's so important for us to always be learning. When you find there's something you lack, go out and learn it. And don't try to do everything yourself. If you want to grow, you will need some help. And remember to invest in yourself and get a coach. If you are interested in becoming a guest on the show, starting your own radio show or low-cost advertising highlighting your book, business, or event, please email envisionb@empoweronpurpose.com. Please tune in next week where you'll hear an amazing story from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, be blessed.
Thank you for listening to the EmPower Hour with Jaresha, where Jaresha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journeys in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to be your best self. Follow Jaresha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Jaresha Moore, and visit EmPowerOnPurpose.com. And remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.